Hello everybody and welcome to Lights Up, the official WNBL podcast. Joining me at the desk today is the 2011 WNBL Grand Final MVP, Sharin Milner. Shaz, today we are going to talk it up on Lights Up, and our very first talking point is we have to pay homage, give credit, salute one of the finest guards ever to play in the WNBL, the Logan Thunder's very own Kristin Veal. 300 WNBL games. That's not a bad effort.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable. Get comfortable, GB, because I am a massive fan and I'm going to pay tribute right now to Kristin Veal. What a player she's been. Very inspiring story, really. She was drafted number 13 in the WNBA draft in that famous crop of AIS players that included Jackson and Snell that won the championship, and she really underpinned that team. Had a couple of really good seasons in the WNBA, then decided, no, I'm not too sure. I just lost my passion for the game a bit. Sat out a couple of years and has now come back. She's doing great things up at Logan off the court. She's a firefighter. She's, got her life sorted off the court as well. But everywhere she goes, she's just absolutely contagious. She thrives on making her teammates better. Coaches love her, fans love her. You think of the journey she's had. She played for the Caps and they were just falling out of the stands for her. Then she went to Sydney and they loved her. She's in Logan now. She's South Australian born and raised. She's played Seabull in Tasmania, Melbourne. You go into any of those states and they absolutely adore her. So, yeah, maybe be Prime Minister after this, I think, with all those travels. But fantastic player in person and, yeah, great effort, 300 games. You
mentioned the trials and tribulations. She also has had to overcome really bad knees as well, hasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. She's a great role model in the professionalism that she's brought to overcoming those injuries and also, the way she plays. I think the style, she's a very creative player. For mine, I'd love to see a parallel universe where we could have had her at the Olympics for the Opals and, come up against our nemesis, the US, because she really plays that style and, almost throws it like a quarterback in the NFL. And I'd love to see players running the lanes and her just, spotting them up and hitting them as well as she does. And yeah, I think she's had a remarkable journey and, yeah, the injuries have been tough.
You mentioned the Olympics. I think she's probably going to go down as one of the best players never to have played for the Opals at an Olympics or a World Championship. She was very close to making the team for Sydney 2000, but then after that, it's almost like she's fallen off the international radar.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I think, coaches look for different styles, and in Kristin's case, she may have been a victim of her own style, despite continually impressing in the league, getting stats, leading the assists, not having that many turnovers, and more so just the way she brings the players around her to another level. And yeah, look, if she stayed on that path with WNBA, there's no doubt she could be sitting back now with a massive house up in Brisbane and set for at least another 10, 15 years off basketball. But, she worked hard and got herself sorted off the court and, really proved that, I guess, basketball life balance that a lot of players these days, probably could take a leaf out of.
Great job by Kristin Veal, and we offer our heartiest congratulations to her. Another player who we probably have to acknowledge, probably her best weekend since coming back from a serious knee injury, Elyse Penaluna for the Boyne Boomers. She's helped the Boomers to 5-5 now. She's probably now going to have to really become the senior player on that roster, I would have thought. You've played with Elyse, you know Elyse. Just give us a little insight into, I guess, what her mindset is going to be and how she's managed her comeback to be where she is right now.
Yeah, well, Elyse Penaluna, or Biro as she's known, Big Pen, do you like that one? I think I came up with it, maybe Desi. But she is a fantastic girl. As you say, she's had to assume a real leadership role now in that Boomers group. She's, one of only a few who have been at that club for more than, even 3 seasons now. This injury is, heartbreaking as it was to happen just before a European contract, I think, has definitely allowed her to step away, assess her goals. She's really got her body right. She doesn't necessarily look a lot stronger, but if you see the way she's handling herself and jumping and landing and screening, she's definitely a lot stronger. And I guess for her, she's a lot stronger up here as well. The experience that she's had in the WNBL certainly looks as if it's paying off now. And she's playing like a leader on that team. And if Boleyn are going to make a charge for the final, she's a massive part of it.
There you go. So Elyse Penaluna is going to be just an absolute key for the Boyne Boomers at 5-5. Another big weekend coming up for them. Major impacts last weekend from the 2 brand new imports in the league, Monica Wright for Dandenong and Kelsey Griffin at Bendigo. Kelsey Griffin was just absolutely super for the Spirit on their road trip. And I think a few people probably paused checked and rechecked when they said M. Wright. They saw M. Wright on the Dandenong roster. And it wasn't Mark Wright, it was Monica Wright. But it looks like she might have a bit of Wright in her.
Yeah, well, I know. As aggressive and physical as the stories are of Mark Wright's NBL playing days, I think people would still be hoping he was the one out there in that Dandenong jersey, because she can seriously play. None of those girls are what you'd call a find because they're established WNBA players, but they're great gets for their organisations. And I think all those clubs like Bulleen and Townsville and Adelaide, who would have been like this about them upsetting the chemistry in those teams, are just sitting there like this now, because they look like they slotted in, they got their points, and they're bringing something extra rather than, I guess, interrupting what those teams were currently doing.
Well, as you mentioned, I mean, it would be a big relief that you get two brand new imports, they come in and they make instant impact, because whether it be the NBL, the WNBL, there's just too many instances over the history of both leagues that Americans come in and they're not even close to being as good as advertised, but these girls, they really do seem like the real deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they're established in the WNBA, those girls. There's no question marks about what they could do. Obviously, they're the calibre of player that they're used to probably walking into teams and being the go-to. But they look like they're slotting in nicely into these two groups who already have, you know, WNBL potential all-stars in Kath McLeod, Jenna O'Hea at Dandenong, and Bendigo have Harrow and Gabe Richards at their bookend. So, yeah, it's a scary prospect, but, yeah, definitely get out and catch a game, because these girls are doing awesome things for the league, and it's a great opportunity to see WNBA players play. Another
WNBL import who has been here from the start of the season, has done great things, is April Sykes of the Sydney Flames. We got Sharin out of the comfort of the studio. We sent her out on location to interview April Sykes. Let's have a look at that interview right now.
Well, I'm joined here by one of the hottest players in the WNBL this season, the Round 6 Player of the Week, and LA Sparks WNBA star April Sykes. April, thanks for joining us on Lights Up.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously, a bit of a tough game Friday night. The Sydney record isn't ideal, but what does Karen Dalton and the girls set themselves for the rest of the season, some goals?
Sometimes the record doesn't always speak for the work you've put in. We come to practice every day and work hard, and a lot of games we were losing, besides last weekend, have been by 2 or 3 points, and it's just showing the growth and maturity that we're gathering as a team, and we'll get to that promised land one day and to start winning more games.
Yeah. And you grew up in Mississippi in the US, which is in the deep south. Tell us a little bit about growing up, how you got into basketball, and I guess life in Mississippi.
Well, where I come from, it was either basketball or chores, and I hate cleaning up and taking the trash out, so I always substitute basketball for doing house chores, so I was always outside instead of in the house washing dishes or mopping floors or something like that. Or my granddad had a mini farm, so instead of having to work on his farm, I was always playing basketball.
Yeah. And playing for LA, I guess the dream sort of changed for Australian kids to Americans, but we're lucky enough to have Jenna O'Hea, and we're very proud of her, you know, being part of the LA Sparks roster. But tell us what it's like playing at the Staples Center.
It's legendary. It's not quite like the Garden in New York, but it's still Staples Center. Lakers played there. Magic Johnson has played on that court. A lot of great players. Kobe Bryant plays there now. Lisa Leslie with the Sparks. So it's just a great opportunity to be starting my career in LA, and they give me an opportunity to showcase my talents for their organization. I love to live in LA.
Yeah. And speaking of your talents, you're very much an all-rounder. I think if you asked 10 people who'd seen you play, they'd comment on your defense, your rebounding, your perimeter shot, your ability to score inside. So who were your idols or role models growing up?
My dad had a lot of old-time films like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and all those guys, and I always watch those top 10 greatest players films. I always try to master something that they did well, and it's better to be more than one-dimensional type player, because once you're capable of doing one thing, someone can stop you. And when something is working for me on the outside, I can always go on the inside, or I can rebound or get my teammates involved. And I always want to be that player that can do more than just one thing. And I always strive myself to work on those little things to become better.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I read a really good quote from an article of yours. I think it was a while ago, but you said, as long as you go hard and don't worry about making mistakes, it is easy. And that sounds simple, but it's actually the hardest part, and probably what a lot of the great players do really well. So is that what you try and bring when you step on the court?
Of course, my 4 years at Rutgers taught me a lot, because I was a kid that was in high school and basically everything went my way. I was more talented than most of the people I played against, and once I got to college, it was a reality check, and I have to learn to play through my mistakes. And I played for one of the toughest coaches, Vivian Stringer, so she always taught me to worry about the next play and not the last play. And it's just something I've carried to myself to a professional level now.
Yeah, that's great advice. Okay, so getting off the heavy stuff now. Right, in Australia, we love adopting people into our country. You know, you'd be an adopted Aussie within 5 minutes of landing here. But just got a little bit of a test for you. We're going to play a little word association game. So I'm going to say a word, and you're going to tell me first a few things that pop into your head, or it might be a couple of words. Okay, here we go. All right, who's your Aussiest teammate?
Sarah Graham.
Yeah, what makes her so Aussie?
Because she always trying to make me do stuff, and she called me hot sauce because I love hot sauce, and she called me Aussie. And plus I've known her because she was in LA training, so she always tried to get me to go out in Australia, although she doesn't know her way around here. I know my way around Sydney better than she does already. So.
All right, little slap to the point, Gav. What about coffee?
I haven't tried coffee here yet. I'm a tea type person. I love mint tea, so that's what I've been sticking to.
Okay, safe answer. We're very protective of our coffee. The Aussie accent.
It gets me sometimes when we've been practicing. Coach be like 2 or 3, 3 or 2, and I'll be like, "What is that?" It's basketball, but it's just different terminology, and she be like, "Fancy that," and I'll be like, "What is that?" I'll be like, "What does that mean?" And it's funny. It's just I always have a stuck look on my face, like, "What are you talking about?" They probably do the same when I say certain things from America, but it's funny. It's funny.
All right, koalas.
I haven't seen one yet. I want to. I heard they're pretty feisty, so I don't know if I want to get close to them, but take a picture of one. I may want to do that.
Yeah. What about Vegemite?
See, I'm a picky eater. I probably wouldn't even try it if I was introduced to it, so I don't even know what that is either.
Yeah. Well, a tip. It looks like chocolate. People might tell you it's chocolate, but it doesn't taste like chocolate. So
what does it
just
taste
tasting
like?
It's very salty. And not the kind of salty where if you like salty food, you can have a teaspoon. Like, just go easy on your first taste. Aussie TV.
I have like 4 channels, 7 digital, ABC, which X Factor come on like every day. Actually, I saw an episode of Pimp My Ride that hasn't been on in like 5 years in America, so I was a little worried. But I have a lot of movies with me, so I've been survived.
Yeah, seen a good movie lately?
I actually just went to see the latest Twilight movie. It was pretty good.
Okay, and the last one, the beach.
Actually, me and Roy were trying to go to the beach, but she's an old lady now, so she has to get massages and all those things and treatment. So we haven't been to the beach yet. I'm looking forward to going.
Yeah, wow, she's whacking all her teammates, but lucky she can play. She's an absolute star. Thank you so much for your time, April, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Well, there's April Sykes, and Sharon, it looks like Ro Cox owes her one that she needs to be getting out for a trip to Bondi pretty soon.
I think she does. I know she wasn't shy in whacking a few of her teammates, but she's a great girl, great role model as well, you know, really well grounded for someone, you know, playing at the LA Sparks in front of that crowd at the Staples Center every week. And I loved what she said about her role models growing up and idols in terms of picking a few and not just one and trying to take little things from each of their games. And you can certainly see that in her own game. She's her own player. And certainly bringing exciting things to Sydney this year. She certainly is, and don't forget you can follow April Sykes and all the other imports and Australian players in the WNBL at the WNBL website, wnbl.com.au. You can follow them on the Facebook page and on Twitter. The league's Twitter is at WNBL, and many of the players also have their own Twitter. You can also follow the league through the ABC website, live streaming of the game every Friday night, and that game, of course, is shown nationally on television at 4 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Of course, your Lights Up co-hosts, Desi Globitz and Sharon Milner, are on Twitter, Desi Globitz 6 and Sharon Milner 4. Been typing up a storm, 140 characters at a time, Shah, so that's good to see. What have you got a little Twitter offering you think this week that might be a little special for the fans? Oh, I think you'll have to stay tuned for this. I'm still working on something a bit controversial. I've really jumped into the Twitter sphere, so yeah, I'll pick and choose those 140 characters. They're killing me. It's a bit short, isn't it?
I look forward to that. That is it for the segment we like to call Talk It Up on Lights Up. But first we have to thank our sponsors, IINet, Champion, ABC, Australian Sports Commission, Sporting Pulse, Spalding and AMFA. That is it for Talk It Up on Lights Up. Come back and join us later in the week for our pre-game show.